Instead of using the FaceTime app, I use the phone app so that I wouldn't keep my camera on the entire time we're on the call.
Did it work?
Yeah.
So interestingly, it comes in on the FaceTime app on this side still.
That's...
I mean, my camera doesn't automatically turn on because I have a separate webcam from Insta360, that company. It took me a minute to remember the brand, but it loads a virtual device. And so when it's unplugged, for whatever reason, the Mac is defaulting to that virtual device. And since that doesn't exist, it's like when it's not plugged in, it doesn't actually load a camera, which is just a fun workaround for not having the camera load automatically, I guess.
Yeah.
But, as a result, I at least don't get the annoyance of having the camera on because I don't leave that camera plugged in. Like I use it every so often because it can record in 4K for some specific odd shots that are just difficult to get otherwise.
I had all these ideas that I got while watching or listening to our episode and watching your episode, Renegade Noble episode, and I just don't have a great way of keeping those. Obviously, can't not keeping those ideas in my head, but I don't have a great way of putting it somewhere, storing it outside of my body, and I can't. We're recording, and I can't remember any of those things.
Have you heard of the either Cloud or Pocket, the like AI assisted recording devices? Does that ring a bell?
They sound familiar.
So I picked one up. I don't know, a couple months ago, I guess. The one I picked up is the Pocket device, and I don't use it very often. But what prompted the thought is occasionally what I use it for is when I'm in my vehicle and I need to make notes on like a meeting or something where it's easy to let it record. I can just kind of speak free flowing thought process wise. And I do at least get a useful summary most of the time at the end. And worst case scenario, I can always listen to the recording and go back to thoughts. So all that to say that, have you considered something like just recording audio notes or something?
I should. No, it didn't even occur to me to do that. And, I could probably get that dum-dum to do it for me. I don't want to invoke it on other people. If people are listening out loud, I don't, in the car or something, I don't want to invoke it.
No, I followed.
I will say a couple of things now that I guess we're going to start every episode now where we get to bitch about things Apple technology related.
It hadn't been every episode. It's just 90+% until software quality improves.
Fair. So let me change. This is a gripe. This is a reasonable gripe. So, which is Anyway, I remember we were talking about in CarPlay the widgets and the stacks.
Yeah,
stacks of, and I had one. I customized them. I was like, I want this one to never change. So I added one widget to the stack and removed all the others. I was like, you know what? I don't have there's not a lot I'm doing here. I want this one to stay exactly the same too. And so I have two stacks, one widget per stack. So there should always be what I selected. There should never be anything else. Well, the stack one added widgets to it without my consent. And I was like, I don't know why.
Was it after the most recent update?
It was today.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'm on 26.2.1. I didn't, I remember we were talking about it, and I was thinking when we were talking about it, I was thinking about the overview. I don't know what the screen is called. So if widgets is all the way to the left, is the screen to the far left. It's the one right after it. It's the one to the right of widgets. So it's got I have it set. I have a map on the left, and then I have either two things on the right. Usually, I can't remember what's on the top, but in the middle, it's usually what I'm playing. And if I have a live event, or was it? Is it, what are those? What are those called? What's that feature called?
Yeah, and I
Is it
think it's a live activity is what the
live
feature's called.
activity? Thank you. If I have a live activity, it'll take those two on the right and squish them up, and it'll be the third item on the bottom on the right. And when we were talking about it, I was thinking that's what we were talking about, but I realized no, this is another thing.
So the screen you were just describing, I think, is the standard dynamic CarPlay interface, because mine's the same.
Yeah.
And so
you can modify it, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember. I don't think I ever bothered trying to modify it because for the most part, it served my purposes for what I need.
Right. The modifications available weren't any better than what was the default, so yeah. I didn't change it either.
And so you're saying the screen to the left of that, if you're swiping, is the one that changed, or that screen is the one that changed?
No, the one to the left. So you would swipe right to get to the one to the left of it.
Yeah.
So it's the leftmost screen, if we were thinking about if they were all, if you lined them up based on the dots on the bottom. And it was the leftmost screen with the stacks that I wanted. I was like, there aren't that many widgets that I need. The one that I really like is the home, the home kit, or the home. And I was able to configure it with the things that I wanted, and that was nice. And I removed everything from that stack, and then on the left, I was like, well, I don't know what I want, so I put weather, and that worked out, and that was it, just weather. And then today, while I was driving, it showed my battery statuses. I was like, I did not add that widget to this stack.
Strange,
right?
Do you have battery status on your leftmost, the widget screen on your phone?
I do.
I wonder if there's something that got this doesn't excuse it by any means. Like, this is just me trying to kind of think through in my head what could do it. Because I use the leftmost, the widget screen on the phone, more than I use the one in CarPlay. And the only widget I have there is the battery status.
Yeah, so
the one in CarPlay I never swipe to. I swipe to it every once in a while just to see whatever it shows in case there's an update, but I just never use it.
So a little bit of explanation as to why this happened, and that is when I go to CarPlay to set it, to look at the stacks, I have batteries as a widget suggestion.
Oh. Yeah, that's one thing I really dislike is all the suggested bullshit.
And you can turn that off. I just turned off widget suggestion. So in the stack it shows, yep, and that's why it didn't do it on the right, because I had widget suggestion turned off. So there's Smart Rotate is a feature, and which I think would be good because I actually added. So to the left, I added the Flighty widget so that one day when I'm going to pick somebody up from the airport, it'll automatically suggest something. I think that would be really nice, and that's why. And so there is a toggle to disable widget suggestions. So hey, they gave a setting, man. Federighi gave us a setting.
So I pulled it up while you were talking about it just so I could see. I do actually have that turned on, but I have two stacks. My first stack is the clock, then calendar, then podcasts, then photos. My second stack is the weather, things, and Simply Safe, and I never use any of them.
So yeah, you can delete them and turn off suggestions, and glad I didn't go to the Genius Bar for that one. Oh man, one of my favorites was when the iPhone 5 came out. Somebody came to the Genius Bar day of, and they're like, I got a problem with this phone. And they're like, it won't ring. It won't reliably ring to, incoming calls won't reliably ring. And I was like, oh. And this was when, let's see, what was iPhone 5? Would have been iOS 6. And that was when they introduced Do Not Disturb. I did count that in my head. They introduced Do Not Disturb. And I was like, hey, it's not you. It is the phone, but it's not the hardware. It's the software. I was like, and I showed him the little crescent moon on the status bar at the top. And I was like, there's a new feature. So it's like today, this came out this week, so it's not something that you would have necessarily been expecting, even if, especially if you didn't update it. And this has the newest OS on it, and it's the do not disturb. And he was just like so relieved, like he was relieved, because there was a clear explanation. It wasn't a problem. It was expected behavior based on the setting. So that was pretty cool.
I don't know if I've ever actually taken my phone off of Do Not Disturb from that point until they introduced the focus modes.
I have never used the focus modes. I just have Do Not Disturb turn on like at some point at night. I can't remember what time, but yeah, it turns on. And
well, I guess, yeah, I did enable or disable it at certain points because I had to at least pay attention to phone calls. But for the most part,
yeah.
But the focus modes I actually like. I don't use them all that reliably, but like when I'm solo parenting and I go to the gym, it's nice to be able to toggle a focus mode where I know the only time the ringer is going to sound are certain phone calls that I have flagged. And then outside of that, everything else is silenced. So I can monitor, and if I hear the ringer, it's definitely okay, I've got to go answer.
Oh yeah, that's I was going to say the reason I haven't used any of the focus modes is because I just haven't been in a place where like I needed that level of granularity. I think there will come a time where I'll do it, but currently not there.
Yeah, I certainly don't have a use case for the rest of them, and I get really annoyed when I constantly get prodded. Do you want to enable home or personal focus mode or something at this location? Like, no, I have fucking dismissed this message multiple times. Quit repeating it.
How often are you getting that message?
I mean, it's like every few updates. It's something that gets reset or, yeah. But like the very first time I dismiss it, it should be gone for good.
Right. The flag. So I'm sure on purpose, an update gets pushed, and in the update it resets that flag I would expect that is on purpose.
I do too, and it annoys the ever loving shit out of me because I can't find a way to turn it off. Well, to be fair, I haven't really looked for a way to turn it off. I just get really annoyed in the moment, and then it's gone until the next time.
Well, we have to. What is it? We have to. Well, it's
like it's not enough of a nuisance for me to go digging, but it's also I just doubt that there's a setting for me to disable focus mode suggestions.
Yeah, and if there was, it would get reset every time you update. That flag would get turned back on as well. So I think that it reminds me of that quote by the park ranger. It was attributed to the Yosemite park ranger about bears and trash cans.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's. I think the question is, why is it hard to design a perfect garbage can to keep bears out? And I'm gonna read it to you. But the park ranger was quoted as saying, "There's a considerable overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest tourists." And I don't mean to indicate that users are dumb. It's just that there's so much that can be done that people are just not going to find things. Like I missed the smart stack suggestion, the widget suggestion for my stack. And is it smart stack? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, smart stack.
Yeah. So it's like I missed that, and I just had to go back, and dig into the preferences again. So.
But this also, in fairness, it goes back to there's not a clean unifying theme for finding this stuff anymore either. Used to things seemed to at least be grouped in logical, rational places for the things that they affected. And as feature sets have grown, it's become more complex. So I don't want to make it sound like that it's an easy thing to do, but it's beyond the point of being rational and logical and layout anymore.
Yeah, I depend on search. So, but to be fair, search is good enough that I depend on that for a lot, and it's like I get the world is different. There was a point in time where you couldn't go, it's like we don't need manual. You really don't need a full manual anymore. At least if there is a manual, it's online. It's not, it doesn't come that kind of documentation doesn't come with the product anymore. And that's not a bad thing. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just that search is so much easier, and access to the internet is in Western culture is ubiquitous. So if you've got a problem, you can search and you can find it in text, you can find it in video, you can find it now with AI, you can start talking to something that a machine that passes the Turing test on troubleshooting things, whether or not they're right or wrong. It's there is some trial and error there, but hey, man, you go to the Genius Bar, there's some trial and error there too, depending on which genius you get.
Yeah, at this point, as long as you understand the basics of troubleshooting theory, you can leverage any type of AI relatively well.
Yeah, agreed. So you had some follow-up items, and this is a good segue into you have repurposed a Mac Pro as a new home server.
I have, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. But
you're not running Mac OS on it.
I'm not. So okay. As I was doing some cleanup on the desk and everything else, I was looking at the Mac Pro and debating.
This is the 2013, right?
Yes.
The beautiful Darth Vader.
Yes. And so I was looking at it and I was debating what I was going to do, because the entire time that I've had it sitting up here, it's just been a glorified screen, really. Like every once in a blue moon, I would touch it just to do something that was really, I could have done it on any of the computers. It's just, all right, well, that one's sitting there. Let it do something for a change, kind of thing. And so I was thinking about the hardware that was in it, thinking about the things that I'm doing with other hardware in the house, and thought, it's kind of time to consolidate some stuff and decide what to do with some older stuff. And so I don't know the full scope of what I'm going to do with it. I just decided it's really the best hardware that I have to run a server at home, because it's really overpowered for that use purpose, as long as I'm not relying on Mac OS to be the server. And
I'll ask more questions about that later.
And so I decided I would install Debian on it and do it direct on the hardware instead of virtualizing anything. And if I need to virtualize something, I'll just use probably Docker to containerize it. And if not, then I can just run stuff like a old school sysadmin.
Nice.
But realistically, I don't know what I'm going to put on it yet. As I was thinking through all of it, I've got those two Mac Minis, the old i3 one, that really just isn't doing anything worth keeping it running. So I can always move that Minecraft server instance to the Linux machine if I want to, or I can just let it go away, because it doesn't really matter, since I'm also running one on the M series Mac Mini. And the M series one is the one that handles the Plex, Bridge, the media server stuff. So it's kind of pointless to be running the other one. So it'll let me pull that one out of the cabinet and either decide to do something else with it, lower scale as a actual front end interface for something, or maybe I'll finally sell it for what little bit I can get for it. But
what is that i3? What year was it? The 2018?
Sounds about right. It would have been
space gray.
It is.
Okay, that's the 2018.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was 18 or 19. So
yeah, I had the one before that from 2014, still running. It's still running, man.
Yeah. I mean, that one's doing fine. It's just I don't use it for anything. And so the part of the impetus to do this was also, I don't remember if it was the most recent version of Debian or the one before, but at some point out of the box, they quit enabling IPv4. And so they enabled IPv6 by default. And so it was an easy way for me to play around a little bit with IPv6, since I have not done it in a long time as well.
Oh, interesting. Well, I was going to ask you why you chose Debian.
Predominantly just because it's the most stable of all the ones I've used from a server perspective. I mean, there's no frills. It's as basic as it gets as far as the out-of-the-box installs. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. It's not as basic as it gets, but it's very much a. These are the.
It's got a GUI, right?
If you install it.
Yeah.
I did not.
You did not. Okay.
No, there's no reason for me to put a GUI on a headless server.
Fair enough.
So right now it is running WebMin, which is a web-based interface for some management tasks and all, just in case I decided I wanted to use an interface. But I've done everything via SSH and the CLI, of course, for now.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, actually. So I guess that saves a fair amount of space and allows you to be snappier.
Oh yeah, it's so much more responsive. And that was the thing that I don't like about Mac OS at this point is when you try to use older hardware that they have decided not to support in newer operating systems. It can be fine, it can be stable, but it introduces a bit of a problem with interoperability sometimes from a server standpoint if you're trying to feed something to the newer OS. For most purposes, it doesn't really matter, but I just don't like having any type of possible inconsistency there. And, I mean, they've dropped all server pretenses with Mac OS at this point for the most part anyway.
Yeah, they did. You can still download it, but they basically discontinue it sometime in the Ventura days.
Yeah. And so I had installed via, what's the name of that bootloader thing that lets you do firmware or emulate firmware and install newer versions of the OS? Anyway, you know what I'm referring to.
OpenCore.
OpenCore. I had set that up and it was running the newest OS and it just felt really, really, really sluggish.
Yeah.
And on that hardware, it shouldn't. I mean, it shouldn't. And so I decided I wanted it to actually run decent performance-wise, and Linux made the most sense. I thought about running Ubuntu just so I could fall back to their graphical interface, but then I remembered I always disliked their graphical interface, and so that was out of the question, which meant essentially a choice between Debian and some of the distros that I don't really know because they're just different ones that I haven't worked with. Cashy OS is one that was referenced that I had never heard of.
I know Kali OS has some popularity I've seen on YouTube.
Yeah, and I mean there are plenty of other distros that I know that I used to play around with that are probably not well known in comparison as well either. So, I'm not poking fun at one that I hadn't heard of either. But
what's that one our former coworker used to love? Gentoo.
Yeah, but
I don't know anything about it except for what he would say.
But Debian is one that I always used back in the day, just because it's simple and stable.
Isn't Debian on Raspberry Pi?
I think Pi OS is based on Debian. So Ubuntu at one point was based on Debian. I think it technically still is, but they went kind of their own way with some things. A lot of distros are either based on Red Hat or based on Debian as far as core kernel and structure. And then when Red Hat went to their almost exclusive
enterprise
licensing model, Fedora became...
I remember Fedora got popular.
Kind of the desktop side of things. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of options. Still, you can really trace most distros back to either a Red Hat derivative or Debian derivative in some fashion. And so, yeah, Debian's just the one I've always kind of gravitated to.
For me, my first memory of Red Hat was I think it was at UAB. It might have been at Jeff State, but there was a lab. I know I definitely did. I definitely went to a math lab at UAB because we had to use I think the application is called MATLAB, or no, Maple. Oh my gosh, yeah. And it was on. They had they had a Novell network set up because I remember logging in and like some Novell splash screen would happen, would occur, and we'd have to do. I remember having to do some work on Maple, and I looked to see at the time. I remember looking to see how much it was. Like, why can't I just install this on my computer at home? And it's like $500. I was like, I'm a college student, and I went to the math lab and used Maple to do whatever math homework I had or whatever math assignment was assigned. But I just remember I didn't know what Red Hat Linux was, and I was like, this is interesting, and I was like, this is really this isn't very pretty. I remember that was my initial thought. Was like, this is not very pretty. So, and then I remember some lab I went to at UAB. Everything was they were this. So this is the early 2000s, and everything was running Windows NT.
I do not miss those days for sure.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Nope. I do kind of miss Windows 2000.
I have some fond memories of Windows 2000. I remember my girlfriend at the time she had Windows 98 SE on a Gateway 2000s Gateway 2000 tower, and she was starting to have some problems. Like, here, let's back up all your stuff and let me install Windows 2000 for you. It'll be awesome. So I installed Windows 2000 with a license that wasn't legitimate, and she would have been a freshman at the time, and she went through the rest of college, and she's like, she's like, every single one of my friends had problems with their computers, and she thinks, I think she got lucky with the hard drive, but she says, I'm pretty sure it was because you installed that Windows on my computer, and that's why I didn't have a problem. I was like, all right, I'll take it. So she had a robust hard drive.
It'll be interesting to see what I finally decide to do with it. I know I put in our notes, I put home server in quotes. It's because I have no doubt I'm going to do something other one, but I don't. Right now I have no specific plans. It's just nice to have an environment that's more than capable enough, again, to run some stuff.
I might do this myself. I hadn't thought about running, some other, non Mac OS Nix system on it, because like I don't know, 6-7 months ago I got a M1 Mac Mini, used one, and basically because of the problems that so I was using my Mac Mini, my late 2014, for basically syncing. I have a 2 I put in a 2 terabyte SSD, and I was syncing data from iCloud to it, and I just wanted it to have it downloads everything to that drive, and it was Backblaze was installed on it, and it was running all that stuff so that it would get backed up to Backblaze. It would be backed up to a Time Machine backup, and it foobarred my photos library, created like 60,000 duplicate photos. And when I tried to fix it, it fixed it wrong. So I was like, all right, I bought this M1 Mac Mini since it would be, I was like, it'll probably support the next 2 or 3 years worth of Mac OS. And so I moved all of that functionality to that Mac Mini. And now I'm like, what do I do with this late 2014? It still runs great, and nobody wants it. And it's got that, it's got a 128 solid state drive, and then a 2 terabyte SSD that's connected through the SATA. So I've been talking to ChatGPT about what I could use it for, and so I definitely wanted to do some server things, and I could expand upon more things if I run something other than Mac OS. So I might go down the road of putting Debian on there and doing, the sort of server things I want to do is actually I want to log some things, and I may have it function as a DHCP server.
Yeah, I've considered deploying a couple of different log aggregation tools from all the Unify stuff in the past, and I've done it once before in a couple of different versions. I've never really found it as useful as I had hoped. But that's not to say that I won't decide to go down that route again and do some other tweaks and all too, because now, since I have two different vendors on the network between the Ubiquity stuff and the Firewalla, it might be nice to consolidate some of that logging now that I maybe didn't get a benefit from before. Also might be fun just to play with a couple other things that may or may not come to mind. But yeah, it's nice to have a machine that I don't have to worry about RAM thresholds as a server again, because everything I'd used before was either 8 or 16 gigs of RAM, and that Mac Pro has 64 gigs of RAM. So
oh, nice. Oh well, what I'm putting in, what I'm considering only has 8 gigs of RAM. So
well, in fairness,
but
like, this is also
yeah,
it's part of why. Like the issue I had before when I was doing other stuff was I was doing it all virtual. And so I was running into resource limits where things would be messed up just because I was trying to run too much on one machine, but the way I was able to run that much was by virtualizing, environments. And so now, having that capable a machine, it's like, okay, I'm going to go back to the type of Linux environment that I would rather run, because if I need to virtualize something, I would rather containerize it within the OS than run a whole virtual machine on top.
Yeah, I think that I don't have a lot of stuff that I want to run, but I do have something. Like I want to keep running Homebridge, and I I'll have to go and confirm that Homebridge. I would expect that it's supported by Debian, but I want to run Homebridge. I want to run a wiki. I want to mess around with a wiki, and maybe Plex.
So Homebridge was one of the things that I did think about, not necessarily Homebridge specifically, but what I might want to do from a home automation standpoint. Haven't investigated like options or anything. It was just one of the things I knew I could transfer to that one. I doubt I will move Plex because I like having it on the other Mini that I have as a backup as a front end, just in case something ever happened to the Apple TV or if the Apple TV pissed me off, It's fun how I have that type of backup and contingency. But the old Mac Mini, if I did do something with home automation and all on the back end on the Mac Pro, then the other Mac Mini that I have upstairs could very easily turn into a interface and monitor, a UI, custom UI like dashboard kind of thing as well, that I could place elsewhere in the house. So
that's funny because on the last episodes of Reconcilable Differences and ATP, John Syracuse is talking about his adventures using Claude Code to recreate Panic's status board as a web app.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love Panic's UI, and they have some cool software. But I was like, if I had something that I needed to track the status of, that would be a good one. That would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I might have to take the time to listen to those. So I'm going to segue into another topic.
Diabolical Minds.
Yeah, part of this also came from re-entering that space after a bit of a hiatus and thinking, it'd be kind of nice just to have a sandbox environment as well. And so if I moved the Mac Pro to be my home server, then what I was using that I was referencing, having issues with resources and all, could be wiped and set up purely as a sandbox for anything that I needed to test or work on. So kind of served a double purpose.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But yes, Diabolical Minds has been brought back instead of just leveraging JT Hart Consulting. I missed the name.
It's a good name for what it does.
Yeah,
I think it's a fun name to go with cybersecurity.
Yeah, and the main reason that I brought it back is because I could finally break out domains and everything again. So it's been nice being able to make my web presence not try to cram everything into one site.
Remind me who your host is.
I moved everything to high level, or go high level is how it's referenced a lot of times. But yeah, they.
I was looking at them today because not long before you had moved over there for this reason, I had I was wondering if Squarespace was going to be the way that they are, or if they were going to allow me to do what you went to high level for. And I'm like, So it was sort of like lucky at the time that I was thinking about it. Now I have got in my head high level is the place to go host because specifically for that reason. I was like, I want to have one website and I want to break it out and put, TLDs, for this part and that part. I don't want to have multiple accounts. I don't like that.
If you
Feels like a money grab.
If you want to go that route, let me know. I know they have an affiliate program that I can shoot you a link for. I don't know what it actually gives. I'll have to look and see, but never hurts.
Definitely. No, absolutely. It's probably a little bit of help for both of us. So I definitely would do that.
But with that, I'm now investigating how convoluted it's going to be to move the show hosting wise. Because one thing that did not factor into my plans that I didn't think about is that Squarespace will do the iTunes necessary RSS feed. Like they don't mind. It's part of the services they offer. High level will not. So while storage is not an issue, I have to come up with a solution for the feed. And if I'm going to come up with a solution for the feed, then I just need to make sure I take the time to do it right. The drawback to all of this, and I didn't realize it until I started poking around further, I can't export an intact feed. So I would have to essentially recreate the episode feed in whatever method I choose. And so as I've poked around, it seems like I'm probably going to do it with GitHub because it would be the easiest to do it relatively quickly and seamlessly. But I've got to wrap my head around what all I've got to do and how I need to structure it and everything else to make sure it's seamless. But I also figure worst case scenario, we don't have that many people that are listening, I don't believe. Not that I've really checked stats in a while, but we certainly don't have the feedback to indicate a lot of people are listening. And right. So worst case scenario, there'll be a disruption and then I'll fix it and the back catalog will be available. So
that's not so bad.
Nah, I mean, it's better now than, with a massive following on some insanely popular thing where you just get blasted for a technical difficulty. Then again, it's my show. Whatever. I can just disable the old stuff if I need to.
That's right. I mean, that's a thing that has happened. So
yeah, but I do think I can make it at least. I may not be able to make it work seamlessly without having to republish, but I think it'll be fine. Yeah,
I would expect so.
What it might mean is that I might decide to pay a little bit longer simultaneously hosting with Squarespace just to not have a impending cutoff. Yeah. Give me a little bit of time. I don't remember if it renews in March or May. I know it's one of the M months. And so if it's March, then I'll probably, pay for a little bit longer. And if it's May, then I have time. I can probably figure it out before then. But it doesn't really matter. Squarespace will still be a vendor I use because that's where all my domains are hosted now since they bought Google domains.
Have you ever used Hover? Or
you mentioned it before, and yeah. I bookmarked it at some point, and I have not gone back to look at it just because I haven't had the time to really worry about it.
They were, I know that they were sponsored a few different tech podcasts that I listened to. I heard them on ATP and Daring or the Talk Show, but I remember them. That one of the things was that they were advertising that they were, a great place to register domains because you could move. They had a lot of flexibility and support that was outside of my wheelhouse. I'm not there yet, or I haven't gone there yet. So, but it just made me think it was like, these people are talking positively about them, and I even heard Merlin Mann talk about him as well on reconcilable differences. So, my thought was like that'll be I've gone there before, like thinking about, I might want to get this TLD, and just looking at prices and purchasing and so forth. So.
Yeah, I need to at some point take the time. The one thing I will say for Squarespace, when they bought the Google domain stuff, their stuff became much better, much more robust.
I believe that.
And one of the things I do like from a business perspective, like I wouldn't care one way or another if it were just personal stuff, but they require you to enter your authenticator code to start to enable editing to make changes on domains. So even though you can lock stuff, generally speaking, it's just an extra level of security for my business presence that I kind of like. Now, others may do it too. I just know that was something I hadn't seen anybody else do before they enabled it.
Nice. You use Authy?
Yes and no.
Uh-huh.
I forgot that Apple brought that functionality into the Passwords app. And so I do have a couple of authenticators in Passwords, and then most of them are in Authy.
I don't think I knew that was in the Password app.
Yeah, it was not in the first iteration. I remembered something about it, and I don't remember what it was. There was something that I added, and it prompted me on the Mac. It's like, I forgot that was a thing. And so everything I've added since then, I've scanned the QR code in both places so that I can eventually, in theory, migrate away from Authy. I don't know if I will or not. I've been happy with them. I don't like that they discontinued the Mac version, and I don't like that a lot of times there are questionable updates, I guess. Like, nothing that I think is nefarious. It's just I don't want to have to update to view my stuff. That was more Mac-centric, but like the Mac app, a lot of times when it was supported, you would load it and you would have to do an update before it would show you stuff.
Where is that part of the app?
If you open up Passwords, I've got to pull it up so I can tell you exactly what it is. There's a section called Codes.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And so the nice thing about doing it in the Passwords app is that the autofill for passwords also will do autofill for codes.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
And that's why I've at least, for the stuff that I've added since I remembered it, I've set it up in both places because it's nice having that flexibility. I doubt I will ever take the time to go through all the stuff I have in Authy and move them. But at the same time, it might be just nice enough a feature to kind of make me decide one day to take some time to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that wraps up the
follow-up
pre-flight
items. Yeah.
I didn't actually have a lot for a topic, but we've talked about this stuff in general a couple of times, and so I thought it might be worth at least mentioning. I didn't even realize Apple had an event focused on TV Plus.
Yeah, I found out by looking at our notes today.
Yeah, and I saw it because of a 9 to 5 Mac article.
Yeah.
When I was trying to figure out what to put in the notes, and not necessarily anything about that I wanted to go into. I think it's neat that they're doing it. It was invite only, which kind of explains why there wasn't a lot of publicity, I suppose. And so, I expect more things will trickle out from reporting and all that will probably generate a little more buzz than just doing a press release or something. But shrinking is... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think they're just, so it's like thinking of it as like the Apple TV service is like, okay, this is following suit with what you would do in that industry.
Right.
So it's different than what they do for their industry,
And what I thought was
technology. So
what I thought was most interesting, and I think it's just timing of things, but like Shrinking is back.
Yep.
Like the first episode of the next season I know is available. I don't remember what days they drop, but
Wednesdays. I just watched an episode of the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and he interviewed Jessica Williams. So this is like from I guess 2 weeks ago, because he was saying it'll be out next Wednesday. So that was last Wednesday for us as we record right now. So
okay. So, but I was surprised there was no mention of it. And then I thought about it. Well, if you're having an event about the service, for future, it really doesn't make sense for something that just hit. But then it made me think they've confirmed Ted Lasso for another season.
Yep.
And I didn't see anything about it from the event. So
I think they even said it's going to be this summer. They don't have a date, but they said this summer.
Yeah. I think that's what I heard as well. And so I was kind of surprised that it didn't get a mention, at least given the popularity of the show. But then again, I also didn't read much about the event. Like, it could have very much been a roadmap event or, a next year type thing. I don't know. It's just, it was fun. It was interesting to me that was not at least referenced, I suppose.
Yeah. I read the list on the 9 to 5 Mac article, and it looks like all new stuff except for Monarch Legacy of Monsters, because they showed a trailer for it.
I need to go back and look and see what the details are. I wasn't intrigued that Keanu Reeves is coming to Apple TV.
Yep. The first one that they listed was a movie called. Oh, I don't know if it's a movie. It's a limited series called Lucky, and I was like, they already have a movie called Lucky. It's the animated movie with about the girl that's unlucky and she finds a lucky black cat.
Oh, I remember that trailer.
I
never watched the movie.
If you haven't watched it, it's a cute movie. It's one to watch with the kids. It's good. I recommend it.
Yeah, Outcome was the Keanu Reeves one. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, that's a movie? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it does. I should read the words. Cape Fear. That's. Is this a remake? Isn't there? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. I know Cape Fear. There is a movie named Cape Fear, but I didn't click through. So in as you click through, it does say it's inspired by the Scorsese film of the same name.
Okay. So I'm really, so like if there's a TV show on Apple TV, even the bad ones are good. Like, there's stuff that they canceled because they were, there was I can't remember what the name of the show is, like maybe High or High Desert, and it was about I'm blanking on her name, Patricia Arquette. She was the star of it, and she was just sort of like kind of a hot mess of a person who was trying to get some things back together, and I think she had some substance abuse issues, and that's why it was called High Desert. But it was pretty good. I liked it. It's better than quite a few of the movies that I've watched on Apple TV, and it got canceled after one season, and I was like, oh, that's a bummer. But because I will say it wasn't at the caliber of a number of other shows that they've released. So
I think we talked about it last time, but I did see the one set in Alaska. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, Frontier.
Yeah, Frontier. I did see it. Did not get renewed. I think we talked about it. But I did also see that Your Friends and Neighbors is coming back.
Yeah, they it says at the event they showed the season 2. Not only I knew season 2, I knew that they got renewed for season 2, and there was they showed a trailer for it because it's coming out in next month, maybe.
I know it's
in April.
Yeah, I know it's not too far off, but apparently at the event they touted a early season 3 renewal.
Yep, I saw that as well. I read that as well. So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
And part of why I even put all this in was just because Apple TV at this point is a nice break from the monotony of all the just shit.
Yes.
So it's been nice to have quality television in some fashion, even if it's not really television at this point.
Yeah, I hope these movies, some of these movies, they look promising. Like Outcome, I'd like to see. I'm down to see Keanu Reeves in a movie. I think he picks some good work. And Cape Fear, that if Scorsese and Spielberg, they're executive producers, so it depends on how much, if they're putting their name on it. Hopefully that means it's going to be a good movie. I know that I still haven't watched F1, but I know that that did,
F1 was good. Yeah.
yeah. But there was a movie with I'm blanking on her name, Natalie Portman and John Krasinski, and I couldn't finish. I stopped it. Like I usually don't stop movies, but I didn't finish it.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but because we had talked about it, we'd actually talked about it before.
Yeah,
it's not that it was unwatchable. It was just that the folks that were in the room with me watching it, they were like, I don't want to watch this, and I was like, I don't mind stopping it.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it now, but it was the whole treasure hunter trope.
Yes. Yeah.
I know I watched it. I do think it took a second viewing because like part of it just it wasn't that I lost interest in. It just wasn't captivating enough for how tired I was. Maybe is a good way to put it.
Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, there you go. And but I did enjoy it after I ended up watching it. I didn't think it was great, but I did enjoy it. Go ahead.
I know Murderbot was renewed for a second season, and I'm glad about that. I enjoyed that. It's Alexander Skarsgård, right?
Correct.
I think I lost you for a moment.
Oh, sorry. It's incorrect.
Yeah, okay. So he hosted SNL this past weekend, and it was really good. I was gonna say I watched the. So I guess this was the third one. It was the 1,000th episode of the show, which was interesting. But I watched the two. It's the third one of 2026, and I watched the two before because I had some time. And when I saw Finn Wolfhard hosted the first episode of 2026, and I enjoyed him in Stranger Things, so I wanted to see him. I also enjoyed him in It Chapter 1, and so I was like, okay, I'll check and see, and it was pretty good, but it was there were some. I feel like they didn't lean into using him as a host, and then last week I think it's Tayana. I can't remember her name. But she hosted, and it was just like. I think they used her better than Finn Wolfhard, but they just some of the better skits came at the end, and there were some that they could have. There were some that were I think relevant, good social commentary that should have been the cold open. Yeah, Tayana Taylor was her name, and but I feel like they did a good job with. Alexander Skarsgård. He did a good job hosting. They used him really well, and I think that they had their skits in a good order. And I can't. They were all good. Like I can't think of one that was just kind of a stinker. They were all good. And then Cardi B hosted, or was the musical guest rather.
At some point, I need to actually try watching the show itself as a show again.
I think they're doing good stuff. I mean, 20 years ago, you could say, you can go back and look and you can see where they ebbed and they flowed. But because I can remember, because we had E, we could watch it on E, and and then it was it was weird that it was on E, and I think then, or maybe it was on Comedy Central first. I don't remember, but I just remember at one point it was on Comedy Central, and then it was on E. And I just thought it was like, why does E have SNL?
Yeah, I can't think of the last time I actually watched an episode, though, instead of just catching skits.
Well, I mean, the various social media platforms make that a lot easier because I remember, in my 20s, in the 2000s, watching actually watching the show on Saturday night. Now that I'm middle aged, I'm watching it Sunday morning on Peacock. You have access to Peacock now with Apple TV, right?
Do I? I haven't looked.
Yeah, they struck a deal, and so there's certain things that are on Peacock that you can have. So, they dropped the price. They dropped the price of, if you have Apple Plus. They dropped or Apple One or Apple TV, whatever. And you were paying for Peacock, they dropped the price of it by like $7 or $8, and there's cross platform sharing of content. So there's Apple TV shows that if you don't have Apple TV, you can watch on Peacock and vice versa. And I think SNL might be a show that you can watch on Apple TV.
I might have to take a look. I guess it was.
Because I know you dropped.
It was either November or December, whenever it was. But I was ruthless and cut everything. I got so tired of, you can subscribe here, but you can't watch this stuff that we have on our platform other than this time, or all that just kind of BS. And so I cut everything. I kept Netflix, Apple TV, of course, and Disney, but I only kept Disney because it's bundled through Verizon.
Got it. Well, you do have access to SNL through Apple TV.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look. I just think something's missing when you don't watch it as the show, because I do remember how well certain things played off of other things that you lose when you just watch.
When you just watch the sketch,
yeah.
It's like you watch a sketch and it's like that was funny, but when you're watching it all together, there's some level of cohesion there.
Yeah,
it's not but I do reckon a lot of the sketches are very timely, and I do recommend watching the most recent episode with Skarsgård. Every sketch was good. Every sketch was really good. Or I can't think of a bad one.
The other thing off of the just the Apple TV stuff, the other one that I'm really curious about is Mayday. Have you heard anything about it yet?
No, I did. I did see Ryan Reynolds and Kenneth Branagh, and but I don't even know if it's a movie or it's a show.
It's
I would assume a movie.
It's a movie, and it's their take on like a buddy comedy spy thriller thing.
Okay, so kind of like the Brothers Grimsby.
I don't know enough.
No, I hope
about
not.
it.
I hope no.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it to know how they're doing it. I just know what I heard was that they're planning to take the concept of the spy thriller and essentially flip it on its head.
All right.
And given the people involved, like it's got to be fun, if nothing else.
I mean, there are certain people who's like, I'll give that a chance based on who's in it. So,
and I know it's coming in September.
If it's a comedy, I think that'll be good. I like Ryan Reynolds comedies, so.
Okay, so I decided to read real quick so I could explain it, just since we were talking around it. So Reynolds and Branagh team up in Mayday. It's essentially a hotshot U.S. Navy pilot, played by Reynolds, sent on a top-secret mission into Russian territory at the height of the Cold War. The operation implodes, leaves him stranded. He's discovered by Branagh's character, who's a gruff ex-KGB agent with a penchant for American culture. And I guess we'll see how they leverage that into comedic entertainment.
Yeah, that sounds like I could see how they could get some laughs out of that.
Yep, I can see it being fun. And there are some names attached to some other projects that I'm certainly interested in seeing more about. Like I saw Michelle Pfeiffer, Nicole Kidman, Nick Offerman, Elle Fanning, Jessica Biel, John Cena. Just names that I hadn't seen in a bit that are generally pretty fun to see what they do. Whether to be good or not, questionable sometimes, but always at least entertaining.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hope that the movies they release in 2026 are just a little bit better than they have been releasing. So,
And I know I saw somewhere that there were discussions about potentially doing another F1 movie, a sequel of some sort.
All right.
Which, I mean, they did a really good job with the movie, so I could see it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that they're promoting because they have a lot of good TV shows, and um, I feel like they haven't been. Just I feel like it's they're just a little too under the radar.
I do think it helped they did some unique things from a production standpoint for F1 that they could then talk more about, as far as the way they used phone bodies to get certain angles and camera shots that are just, from a size and constraint perspective, really kind of interesting. But yeah, I across the board, I think they're getting more recognition for what they're doing in the film space that's warranted. Now, whether that continues or not, we'll see. That'll be the real question. Can they build on the momentum?
Right. There was, and I hope they keep doing. Also, I hope they keep putting money into their nature documentaries because all of them, all the ones that I've watched, I've really enjoyed.
I kind of expect so. I know we've talked about it enough, but it feels a lot like one, HBO in its heyday, but when National Geographic really was known for their premier
Oh man,
wildlife related stuff. I mean, they still are, certainly, but it's gotten kind of muddled, and it almost feels like Apple's trying to rekindle that flame to an extent, where it's like this is more like the glory days of these entities.
Yeah, well, I think that what it was used to in the early 90s, you could go to the Discovery Channel and get good. You could watch good nature documentaries, and by the late 90s, it was the top 10 fastest animals, in the water, and it got really hyperbolic and it
All
just
Shark Week all the time.
Yeah. And it made it too. It just got away from the I'm not sure what the word it is that I'm looking for, but
I remember having the thought, and this isn't quite what you're describing, but I do remember having the thought that Discovery pivoted more toward reenactment of history, and therefore some level of reinterpretation that just made for less entertaining watching, and then went from that to more of the hyperbole that you're referencing. So
yeah.
it's almost like they shot themselves in the foot trying to recreate history for a medium that just wasn't well suited for, or not well suited is incorrect, that didn't have the audience target that they hoped, I think, more so than anything else, for the way it was done. And so in order to survive, they had to kind of grab attention back. And I think that's what created that shift.
Yeah. And then in like 2006 or so, Planet Earth from the BBC came along, and Blue Planet on Discovery came along, and it was like, oh, here we go. And it like went back to like the proper documentary, or the proper nature show. So I wish they would do some more Earth at Night. I liked those.
Earth at Night in color.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forget in color.
It's been a good series for sure.
Yeah.
I would like to see another human nature series. I think that one was BBC.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that.
It was interesting. I know I have the DVDs somewhere, or the Blu-ray. I don't think I actually have them ripped though. I think that was the one that for whatever reason I could never break the encryption at the time, and never bothered going back because when I bought it, it came with the digital code redemption, so it didn't matter. But I'll have to go back and look. But it was a good series.
Apple TV has a really good, or their Apple has a really good um, website. You can filter all their content by you can. It's like, why isn't this actually on the TV in the application? But like you can, at the top, it's like you can do all formats, all years, and all months. So like if you wanted to drill down, I want to see the documentaries that came out in 2024, in February and March. You could do that.
Is that just through the app on the Mac?
No, it's on Apple's website.
On the website.
It's appletv.com. Sorry, apple.com/TV-PR. And then you can go to originals, and there's a filter.
I really wish they would bring somebody in for interface design for the TV, all of the streaming services. Just let somebody that actually tries to use it fix it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, LeMay being promoted will be a breath of fresh air. So I'm not expecting it for iOS, or I'm not expecting it for the 27 OSs, but maybe by 28. Maybe I think there'll be some change, but certainly the bleeding will stop.
Yeah, I would hope realistically that we get a proper iteration year. We'll see. And by that I mean more like the Snow Leopard-esque. Like let's resolve some things and address concerns and not worry about anything else for one cycle.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else other than since we kind of talked about roadmap ever so briefly. I'm not real sure what to think about the evolution of how AI is going to be baked into the OS going forward. I guess we'll see what that looks like. But the updates to Apple Intelligence are now going to be built on Google's Gemini.
Yeah, I did see that.
It sounds like from the article that I read that it's not like a direct interface into Google, that it's taking the infrastructure and putting it in place as a separate deployment type thing for Apple's purposes.
Right. It's
but
still
we'll
going to
see.
have private cloud compute and whatever that means, because the meaning of it could be different than what was discussed in mid 2024.
Yeah, we'll see. I finally caved and adopted some Google stuff, though. For the business, I decided to set up Workspace again so that I had access to a couple of integrations that for lead generation and all, that it's just nice to have it work. And the only email clients they would support were Microsoft or Google as far as native integration support. And so I decided I would rather deal with Google than Microsoft with that one.
Yeah. I understand that. I don't hate Google, but I don't,
Yeah, it's not that I hate them. I don't want to give the wrong impression. I don't like the business model being built on data acquisition and usage.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I don't mind that my only Google presence is via work. That doesn't really bother me so much.
And that's most of the reason that I didn't mind necessarily setting it up, is because it's just for work business purposes anyway. But I had already set up Mail for Business through a different option using Apple's services. And so having two different mail solutions for business is just some level of redundancy. Two different domains. So
okay.
What?
I was going to ask who you had your mail through.
So when Apple introduced a lot of the stuff where you could bring your custom domains for mail, I went ahead and set up the jthart.com domain to do mail through Apple's relays.
Okay.
And then projectjth.com, the mail for all of that is through Google's relays. And both I use the same, like JTH at whichever domain. So both come to me.
I'm kind of here for Apple using Gemini underneath Apple Intelligence, at least for a few years. Because Gemini's not bad. Like, Gemini's gotten good. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.
I will say, more than anything, ChatGPT has given me like a very, what is the word I'm looking for? Because of ChatGPT using the system font, I have a really strong appreciation for the SF font family. Like, Psalm liked them, but like for some reason, typing that much with the SF font and reading it in ChatGPT, I'm like, I really like this font.
I don't know that I've paid that much attention to it. But then again, I really liked Avner, and so I use Avner every chance I get. The precursor to them deciding to do the SF font.
I don't know it. I probably know what it is, but I can't think of what it is. So
yeah, it was relatively short-lived as the default font, but it was when they decided to pivot from, I think everything was was everything in Arial before, or was it Helvetica? I don't remember.
It was a really light version of Helvetica with iOS 7.
But when they pivoted from that, they went to Avner and then did SF as the system font.
You may not like this, but I really like the Ubuntu font.
I don't have any problems with most of their stuff. I just don't like their GUI, the stuff they overlaid. I guess the better way to phrase it, I don't like their human interface principles more so than the way they did it.
I see.
Yeah. But it's because I liked the way virtual desktops and all worked, and the way the menus and all worked prior to the way they overhauled things. And they've gotten better. It's not as bad as it was when they first did it, but I will never go back to their interface if I can help it, just because I didn't like it.
I didn't use it enough to have any strong opinions on it.
I don't even remember what I hated so much about it, other than it was a bit of a resource hog at the time. Obviously compared to what had come before it. Not so much that it was a resource hog compared to like Windows or something, but or even Mac OS for that matter.
All right, I need to look. I'm trying to look at. I had to update pages.
I haven't done that yet.
Helvetica Neue was the one that they used. It wasn't just Helvetica. Helvetica Neue is what they use for iOS 7. And you said Avner is it AV? Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a good font.
Yeah, any documentation that I create it with Avner.
Do you remember Myriad?
I do.
I have a copy. Do you have a copy of Myriad set?
I might.
If you don't and you want it, let me know.
Yeah, I have no problems snagging it as a backup just in case. I should have it somewhere, but I don't know that I could put my hands on it.
I think I even have the PDF of Apple's style guide in using Myriad as well.
And that'd be fun just to peruse.
Yeah, it's not that long. I think it's maybe 3 pages. I'll send that to you. I'll find it. I'll look for it and send it to you. Yeah, Avner's a good font. Yeah, it's much like it is a lot like SF. I liked it so much I almost did my resume in it, but then I just did it in Helvetica. There was something else. I used to love Verdana when I was in high school. Loved Verdana.
I used it a decent amount. I defaulted to Times a lot. I think that was just because of how much I was in Windows as well, and that was the default there for quite some time.
I think I did Times New Roman for, I think it was like required for a lot of papers, so I just did papers in Times New Roman. I do remember having like an old school teacher who's she was like, I want it to look like a typewriter, and she was specific about using Courier and the font and double spacing, and when I say double spacing, I don't mean like 2 spaces between after the end of a sentence. I mean like double spaced typed, like where there's
the lines.
Yeah, like a double carriage return.
I used Courier quite a bit at one point. I still do it occasionally when I want to make sure that I distinguish between something that I'm documenting code-wise versus non. Though I've kind of gotten out of the habit of doing that even.
For when I have to use Google stuff, when I do when I want something monospace, I use Roboto. I love monospace fonts in the place where monospace fonts should be. And that's how you end a show.